The blue energy organs are the kidneys, the adrenals, the bladder, the urethra, and the vagina and penis. And when we work with these different organs in this way, it initiates the Kundalini, or the sexual potency, and this rises up through the body, through the organs, through the brain, and into the higher self. I just was going to mention what's been happening with me recently. And I've always had my Kundalini going off, but I went into a Kundalini awakening in later stages of 2012, and it never stopped. And it was a very hard experience of it, this energy continually going through the spine and brain and just working through the intellect. And it kind of brings up every kind of shape and size of being a nutter, really. You know, losing your mind, or what would be thought of, I can't think of the right word. I mean, nutter's not a good word to use, it's the wrong word, but try kind of mental disease in a way within ourselves, because it's clearing through the mind, and it's opening up natural pathways, and what's ever in the way that comes up to the surface. So any traumas, it brings them to the surface, and it's this continual feeling of being on LSD kind of permanently. You just get used to that kind of side of things. And that is quite a hard, long and lonely journey. That's all I can say about that. It's not something you can really interface with other people, because people can't understand it. But recently I feel like I'm coming to the end of that, and it is getting much softer, in that it's much more, even though it is all the time going through my brain, it's now just kind of connecting with the higher energies, just as a natural thing, which is giving it a much softer air and a more caring and loving air in a way. And people don't have to do that to do holographic breathing or work with the organs, but it does start that process, and that may be lifetimes before it ends up in a big awakening or something, or maybe people can do it in small ways. But I do include the energy traveling through the mind and the waking up, or the viewing of our intellect, rather than being the intellect or being the ego, the awakening of that, and the connection to the higher self. And that will be part and parcel of this webinar. So I think the reason I had to start again was I didn't know I was going to talk about that, but I think that is part of what we will be working with today, is the initiation of the sexual energies, and a bit to do with the blue circuit. We can't go into it in a huge amount of depth, but we can open it a bit. If you want to go in depth, come to next Sunday's webinar. And with the blue energies, they do connect with the nervous system, and what I call the cranial sea. That is a term that I have initiated myself as how I see how the fluids of the brain work. And the blue energies do connect strongly to what is normally called the myelin sheath, but what I call the myelin capillaries, because it gives an image. The myelin capillaries for me is what they are. They are capillaries with the cranial sea flowing down them, and it gives an image of fluidity and being able to clear your own nervous system, because they're not just solid, they are fluid, and the fluid can flow out and take toxins away with it. And the same with the brain. The blue energies relate to the ventricles. And I am going to describe a way of viewing that in a way that it is admitted to but never shown in the anatomy books, and never heard of it on a cranial training other than my own that I'm teaching. But I'm going to give you, I think if you're going to try to detoxify the brain, which we're going to do today, and the nervous system, it's good to look at the anatomy of it. And my anatomy will be, it is correct, it's just not shown. But if your anatomy is your internal sacred geometry, so if you can get a picture of it that works, then it becomes easier to detoxify your brain and your nervous systems. And there are also mental pictures and names of this area that stops people from detoxifying their brain and nervous system, and did before, for me, before I looked into it myself. And one of them, one of those such names, which is a picture, is the blood-brain barrier. Raise your hand if you've heard the name of the blood-brain barrier. If you've just heard that name. Raise your hand if you know what the blood-brain barrier is. A couple of people. Most people not. I didn't. And my image, and what people had said to me was things like, really hard to detoxify the brain because of the blood-brain barrier. Raise your hand if that image of the blood-brain barrier gives you the feeling that it's hard for toxins to leave your brain. No one. It was only me. Okay, I don't have to teach you out of that. I've heard people say that, or people have said to me, raise your hands if you think it's hard to detoxify the brain. Yeah, okay, a few people. So I'm going to give you an image today that is helpful for detoxifying the brain. And one of the images is that people quite often just look at the brain as a solid thing. Oh, I wanted to give you a tip. We are going to be, because I think one of the things that is affecting people a lot is microplastics. I mean, anybody who has a blood test these days has got microplastics in, and apparently the brain can accumulate kind of about 10 times as much microplastics as the rest of the body. So it can get into the brain and start messing with your endocrine system and hormones and all sorts of things. And with this, we're going to be helping clearing that, helping clearing neurotoxins, diseases, also forever chemicals. You know, we're just continually bombarded with these different things. But I mentioned in the newsletter that I was going to show a way that you can clear 30% of the microplastics. And that's from a fairly recent bit of research that I was looking at, and it was on firefighters that pick up microplastics and forever chemicals from this foam they spray. And for firefighters who were regularly giving blood, they had 30% less microplastics in their blood and 30% less forever chemicals. So that seems like, they won't let me do it because I'm over 65, but for anyone under 65, if you give blood, it seems like a good way to get rid of a lot of these heavy duty toxins that we're picking up all of the time. So that was the difference, that 30% less of that, all of the plastic in their system. You know, they're kindly donating that plastic to someone else. And all of their toxins and diseases, they're giving them to someone else. So if you want to be generous, that's the way of doing it. I guess that's what they used to use leeches for. But hopefully we can advance on that with our own way of I'm going to give you a picture of healing that area. So quite often we look at the brain as just the whole thing, but if wave your hand if you can see that picture okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so this is painted by me. It's one of my clients who didn't make it, and I got a microscope, and inside their brain, the cells of the brain in the body, they're all really close together. But in the brain, they're not. They're joined by these cells. You may not be able to see them. They're called astrocyte cells. They're the most prolific cell. And they've got hundreds of tentacles, and they join to everything around. And they're what stop your brain becoming fluid. Without them, with their sticky tentacles stuck to everything, your brain would just be slush. It would just be flowing around. If they just undid their sticky pads, your brain would just turn to water and be slopping around in your head. So it's really good. The astrocyte cells are really good, and they seem to be our higher consciousness. We work with them also. We work with the astrocyte cells in the Yellow Energies webinar in the last series, the series we're doing at the minute, and you can get a recording of that if you wish. But you've got all of you've got the neuron here, axon there, the myelinating glial cells here, microglial cells, but they're all separate. So if you do have a toxicity, it can come out of the cells and be in this whole fluid area and easily to flush it away. You know, if it is in a cell, it can come out the cell and be easily flushed away, and if it's in this area, it can be easily flushed away. So you've got areas of the brain that are like seaweed and sea anemones in this cranial sea. This is a ventricle, it's got no cells in it. So this is like sea without seaweed, this is sea with seaweed. And the cranial sea in the ventricles, in the brain, is 99% water, 1% glucose, salt, and oxygen. So it's 99% water. It's salt water. It is a sea. It's separated normally in cranial trainings and in the anatomy books, but I've just put it together, called it the cranial sea, because I'm correct and everyone else is wrong. It's very simple. And that is true. They're exactly the same fluid. If you count them as one fluid, you get a completely different view of this area. And I'm showing you that view. So there we have the cranial sea within the matter of the brain and within the ventricles of the brain. So this is a bit more, I'm feeling this prayer. I didn't want to go into this in depth, but I can't see. So this is quite in depth webinar. I thought I could rush through it, but I feel as I try and do it quickly, I feel the pressure of the group. So I think this webinar might go on a bit longer and it might be in more depth. But for all of the people who are watching, you will get a better anatomy in this little short free webinar than any cranial training you do anywhere on earth. I've stopped being modest. And if you want, I mean, they're normally 5 or 6 grand each. So if you feel to send me maybe 12 grand afterwards, because it's far better, I am perfectly open to that. So you're getting maybe 12 grand. Well, it's exponential really, because what I teach makes sense. A normal view of what they call the cranial fluid doesn't work, but the cranial sea does work. Now, this is 2 lateral ventricles in the top part of the brain. So in the normal anatomy, they just talk about cranial fluid coming out into those. And if they talk about the cranial sea flowing in, they can't do that because the whole theory falls apart. But for me, cranial sea is formed in what's called the plexus, all of these capillaries in there. But capillaries aren't just making cranial sea, they are absorbing the venous capillaries, which what we're working with are absorbing cranial sea, they're absorbing toxins, and they're absorbing carbon dioxide. So normally that will never be talked about, but these are like large cisterns in your brain. So you've got a brain full of capillaries, I think 700 miles of capillaries. It's giving out cranial sea, and then that's absorbing. Here we have 2 capillaries there and there. That is making the cranial sea, and then when they go a bit further and become venous capillaries, they're absorbing the cranial sea, they're absorbing toxins, they're absorbing carbon dioxide, and that is going back to the heart. So if you have this image of your brain full of capillaries, that can take away the toxins. That's quite a good image to have. And then more so there's all of that happening, taking away your toxins. Now, it's nice to be in contact with the venous blood, because that connects you to the kidneys and this whole blue energy circuit. It's that blue energy capillaries, blue blood. And then along with that, all of the used cranial sea, the cranial lymph, can flow inwardly into these large ducts here, and then they're also full of capillaries, and they can take away more of the toxins. So you can have, rather than the brain just the blood going to it and the oxygen and all of this, you can have an image of all of the capillaries taking away the toxins, or the venous capillaries taking away the toxins, taking away the microplastics, taking away the forever chemicals, the mercury, rubbish. Just taking it away. It's the rubbish, go away rubbish, into the venous capillaries. And these ducts are like large venous ducts, and they will absorb it. And in the plexus, which is just tons of capillaries altogether, the venous capillaries can take another layer of toxicity away. So we've got the capillaries through the whole brain, taking the toxins away from the cranial sea. We've got the capillaries in the ventricles taking the toxins away. So you can have this image of, I can easily get rid of toxins out of my brain. And there's several ventricles. You've got 2 big ones here, one in the middle, and it goes down the spine. And you can think of those as ventricles They do give out cranial C, but they receive cranial C so that it can be detoxified. So that is one way that you can get rid of the toxins, through the capillaries and through the ventricles of the brain. The other way you can get rid of the toxins is that cranial C flows out through the nerves, and those there's no lymph there, so only a certain amount can go back through the venous blood. The rest of it, cranial lymph, it has to find another way to get back to the heart, and the only other way is out through the membranes around, or out through the nerves, and the nerves are like open gateways, so those toxins can flow out through the nerves. Let me show you a few more capillaries first. There we have two lateral ventricles, one in the middle, this diamond shape here. These are like big spaces, these are like caves in the seaweed that can fill up, or do fill up. All the sea is flowing into it with the used carbon dioxide and the chemicals or whatever, and then it can be detoxified. So there's one of those from the front. So you can get like an image. It's the light blue, two lateral and then you've got a central one in the thalamus, then you've got a central one in the pons and the medulla oblongata there. So you don't have to remember these. There you have the lateral ventricles, one in the middle, and then one going. See, you've got this bird in the middle of your brain there. It's like this, its beak is going down into the pituitary gland. Then it can flow off down the nerves. Where's the picture of the nerves? Oh, there it is. See, I had to make these pictures because I had a different way of looking at it, so I need to have different pictures to show it working. So all of this cranial C, this is a nerve going out, and there's nothing to stop it. It can all flow out between the myelinating glial cells, which is where all the toxins go. It's between, because it's used, and then as it goes down, this outside membrane gets thinner and thinner, and it can just go through that, goes into the intercellular fluid, can go off in the lymph back to the heart, or it can go off again in the venous capillaries back to the heart. So it's all flowing back. And I'm kind of giving you a drain pipe of a visualization of how you can see the toxins exiting this whole area. So the actual like good things, or not good and bad, they're both equal, but the oxygen and the salt and the glucose, that will go into the myelinating glial cells where it's used up, and then the toxins just go into the fluid between it and then can make their way out through the sides and back to the heart. And here they are traveling off down through. You've got the myelinating capillaries going down, the spiles of membrane and spiles of cranial C. So this picture I'm showing you today, this detoxification, is to do with what we're working next Sunday, the blue energies and all of it. Now see this I don't know if you can see it because it's so small. You've got a front view of the ventricles up here, and then it comes down, and the spinal cord doesn't go all the way, it goes a certain way, and then it just becomes nerves, and it comes down to the top of it. Can you see how the ventricles mirror the kidneys, the adrenals, the bladder, and the urethra? So that is all this blue energy that we're going to be working with. See, it's another picture. See, they say there's 4 ventricles, and then there's they call it the central canal. They don't call it a ventricle, so it splits it off. But can you see, I'm not sure if you can see that, can you see how if you include the tail, that the ventricles come to life. They suddenly have this ground. The tail going down the spine is part of the ventricles. People give things name and disconnect them to everything around them, and you get a weird picture. Oh, that's the ventricles and that's the tube, but I call that the fifth ventricle. And watch the video after this, because I will put the pictures in the video so you can see a big picture of that. And again, that is an image of the blue energies. That is a central energy of the blue energies. And you can see they call this the myelin sheath, which gives people a picture of something that's solid. Hard sheath, but it's spirals. The see-through bit is cranial C. You've got the axon there, so it's cut through the middle, and there's more cranial C than there is membrane, and these they connect together in the nerves, and they work by capillary action. Take not just the cranial C flowing down through them, but it's drawn down along through them by the capillary action. Again, feels similar. Can you feel how that capillary action through your nerves connects you into whatever the capillary action or filtering process is in your kidneys? There's this connection where the nerves go out through the whole body, and that connects deeply into your kidneys. Wave your hands if that was helpful. No one. Lots of people. Okay, great. There you go. I'm not wasting my time. Put your hand up. I won't let you back. Okay, there we go. Oh, everyone likes it. Oh, I feel better now. I thought I was just... See, people didn't used to like me talking, but I just badgered them until they now listen and are brainwashed to think that I'm talking sense. So that is an image. That is the image of the filtration system we're going to use to clear these toxins. Now, that is on a physical level, to clear the toxicity out of the brain, but it's also the brain, these cells, as they fit together, these create the intellect. The intellect is in this whole bit there. And as we clear the brain, you know, because people are enamored with, oh, it's the oxygen, oh, we need the glucose, oh, we need this, and the emphasis is on the blood getting to the brain. But if you have the emphasis on the venous blood leaving the brain, and the cranial C, the venous cranial, or the lymph cranial C leaving the brain, leaving the spine, then it takes you into a different feeling. It drops you down, it's much slower, and you naturally detoxify yourself, but you start unwinding. See, that is taking a charge away, and it takes away, as you take the charge away from the brain, you don't get the upset thoughts, you don't get pulled into these negative cycles of thoughts that seem to control our lives from the unconscious. And if you carry on long enough, you may be lucky enough to go loopy like me and properly lose your mind. Then you really do have trouble with everything going on there, but there's nothing you can do about it, and you just give up after a while and just watch it all going on. And it's been interesting recently, because when that process first started, I thought, well, I've gone mad now and I will commit suicide. And then after about 2 weeks, I thought, well, maybe rather than commit suicide, I will spend the rest of my life trying to put this right so I don't have to die insane. I wanted to die sane. I'm not going to get my wish, but I'm used to losing my mind now, and it's after a while, even though I was in total pain and distress, I would have never have chosen to gone back, because I saw that I'd left my box behind. You know, I was out of my box, and that can work good ways and bad ways. If you're not ready for, or if you're not willing to go down quite the hard road of processing it and working with it, you can end up just taking antipsychotic pills or something like that. But on the other hand, you can work with it, and your whole mind is just unraveling, letting go. And it was deeply traumatic and painful to start off with, and it got better and better. But all the time you are holding it down in a certain way. And recently, as it gets to feel nicer and nicer and more preferable, most of the time now I'm just encouraging it, or I take off that little bit of holding it back. So I'm walking along and I just let it go. And it is like, before it was like a terrifying LSD trip, but now it's just like a really nice, easygoing, everything sparkling, and having extra dimensions to it. And I would rather die like that than having my box back. However hard it gets, however terrible, because I thought I'd destroyed everything. I lost all my money, I lost my home, I lost my health with Lyme's disease, and then I was just on the road traveling from sacred site to sacred site. And then to top it all, I lost my mind, and it was so painful. I thought, if this lasts more than 2 weeks, I'm going to top myself. It's just too painful. But I stayed, and it got easier and easier, and now it's just great, really. And I guess I'm now just, you know, if people come along and that happens to them, they've got someone who they can talk to and say, well, this feels, and I can tell because I say, does it feel like you've got this extra box or this extra room inside your head that you never had? And they say, yes, it feels like I've got an extra room that feels completely different, and I see things in a completely different way. And there's 5 or 6 questions I ask. Yes, you know, you would be. So, you know, I can help people who are having a Kundalini awakening themselves. And a lot of it is just to let people know that it is a healthy thing. Because as soon as you think, oh, I've gone crazy, or this is a terrible, bad thing, then you can't process it so well. But if you can hold it as, oh, this is a spiritual event, an unfolding of consciousness, even though it's very difficult, then you're able to process it. In the same way as I've given you a picture of detoxifying your brain and your mind, it means you can do that now, hopefully. Okay, let me describe and demonstrate holographic breathing. So I think everybody here said they know it, but just in case, holographic breathing, the lips are relaxed and closed, the upper surface of the tongue is on the roof of the mouth, the breath is through the nose. On the in-breath, the jaw is gently opening. On the out-breath, the jaw is gently closing, and it's a small motion, half a finger width, 2 or 3, 4 millimeters. And I will demonstrate that. You may not be able to see much, but you will notice that the lips are opening and closing with the jaw. And for me, it's instant. I go into a completely different state. And for me, it is totally aligned with that Kundalini awakening that I was talking about. It soothes it, it helps it travel through, it helps it move through the brain. And for any type of therapy work, you will find if you get your clients to do hologram, it doesn't matter if you're counseling, doing past life, doing therapy, if they're doing holographic breathing along with it, it really helps people to balance and to process whatever they're going through, and to take it into a spiritual state, and to clear through the mind. But when my Kundalini first went off, holographic breathing was just automatic with it. It was just part and parcel of it, from what I remember anyway, but definitely helpful now. For new people, holographic breathing can really knock you out, and if you're new, it is good to learn the first part seated so you stay awake long enough to get the activation where holographic breathing will just start. You don't have to remember my description of holographic breathing because it will be a guided meditation where we're going through it. All right, we shall start. So closing your eyes and breathing gently. If you know holographic breathing, doing holographic breathing. I wonder if I move slightly, whether I'm a bit more central there, aren't I? Okay, I want to be here. I wonder if I move that across, whether that will do anything. No, not really. I can't. I'm just going to make my screen different for a minute while people are getting ready. Just so that... Oh. Why is somebody else the speaker and not me? That's not right. Just want to... Why is... let me just check this. It shouldn't have anybody's... Somebody try and turn your microphone on, somebody. Can anybody... Because somebody, James, hasn't got his microphone on by the looks of it, but maybe that's some reason. Try and turn... Nobody can... Okay, so it is correct. I tried to look at my screen full, but I couldn't. And then, because it showed somebody else as the speaker rather than me, and I thought there may be something wrong, but apparently not. All right, we're going to start. So, just quickly, am I loud enough? Good, good, good. Has my sound been okay? No interference, it's all okay. All right, here we go. Move that back slightly. There we go. All right, closing your eyes. And if you know holographic breathing, doing holographic breathing. If you don't, just gently breathing. Sending a smile. Sending some energy to the earth. And allowing the earth to say hello back. Notice what that feels like through your body, and energies. And sending a smile, sending some energy to the higher self and beneficial energies. Beneficial energies, any divine realms, subtle realms, divine teachers, divine energies, whatever you want to work with, as long as it's beneficial. Very interesting, the energy coming to me is different because I have mentioned before, I was more connecting to the spiritual energies, and there's the spiritual energies that normally come through at this time, very different and much softer. It's like snow coming down, just very gentle, caring, very soft, divine energies. But anyway, for yourself, connecting to the divine, to the spiritual, to the beyond, to the higher self, and asking the earth, the higher self and the beneficial energies to be with you through the whole meditation. And we're going to start learning holographic breathing. For people who know it, it's still good to go over this and be with it. It's all channeled energy. Whatever I'm saying, it's still channeled energy and working in ways that I've got no idea going on really. Gently breathing, having the lips relaxed and closed. Bringing the upper surface of the tongue to the roof of the mouth. The tip of the tongue to the front teeth. And as much as the tongue on the roof of the mouth as feels comfortable. And the breath is through the nose. And then just moving the jaw up and down, small motion up and down, just to get the experience that you can move the jaw and keep the lips closed. Just moving the jaw up and down with the lips closed. So you can get the experience that that is possible. And then slowing that motion down, as the jaw is gently opening, allowing the breath to come in through your nose. And as the jaw gently closes, allowing the breath to leave through your nose. Jaw relaxes open, the breath comes in through your nose. The jaw relaxes closed, the breath leaves through your nose. Relaxing the back of your neck, relaxing the back of the head. The lips stay closed all of the time, and the tongue stays on the roof of the mouth all of the time. As the jaw opens, the teeth are relaxing apart. The breath is coming in. The jaw is gently closing. The breath is coming out. And the teeth float together. There's no pressure. They just gently float together. There's no pressure, or they just stop slightly apart. So the jaw is always relaxed and flowing. The jaw gently opens, the breath pulls in through the nose, the jaw gently closes, the breath leaves through the nose. There's this lovely spiritual kind of kidney energy dropping into the group. The kidney is a very spiritual organ, it's a very feminine spiritual organ. You can feel it through the whole group, because I guess I've talked in that energy that people are just connecting to that really nice, soft, spiritual energy of the kidneys. You may feel just sensations in your kidneys or kidney area or adrenals. Jaw relaxes open, the breath comes in through the nose, the jaw relaxes closed, the breath leaves through the nose. And now we're going to change the emphasis from the jaw to the breath, so it's the other way around. The breath is coming in through the nose, the jaw relaxes open, the breath opens the jaw. The breath leaves through the nose, the jaw relaxes closed. Notice how you've gone up a level. You've become much more energetic. The jaw's very physical. If you have the emphasis in the mouth, it's more physical. Bring the emphasis to the nose and sinuses, it becomes much softer and energetic. Breathing in, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out, the jaw relaxes closed. The chest opens on the in-breath. The jaw follows along. The chest closes on the out-breath. The jaw follows along. Breathing in, the chest opens, the jaw opens with it. Breathing out, the chest closes, the jaw closes with it. Allow your neck to relax. You may let your chin drop down a bit so your neck straightens a bit. Let the energy go through your neck. Breathing in, the abdomen opens. The jaw relaxes open with it. Breathing out, the abdomen closes, the jaw closes with it. Feeling down inside the pelvis. Pelvis opens. On the in-breath, the jaw follows along. Pelvis closes on the out-breath, the jaw follows. The arms, legs, hands and feet opening on the in-breath, closing on the out-breath. Notice in a very subtle way your whole face has started to breathe, your brain has started to breathe, your neck and throat has started to breathe. Important to let go of your throat and neck, to let the energies channel through the brain and face. It's like a trunk of a tree. Heal your thyroid and thymus gland. Thyroid problems are sometimes evolutionary. It's people moving slowly onto a new level and clearing through your neck. And through your brain and face. And allow yourself, the energy to slowly release out the top of your head, up into the divine energies, to the higher self. And let the higher self and divine energies communicate back in. So I think the emphasis of this webinar is much more about that than what I've been talking about. It's this divine energy coming in, this divine healing. So we'll be allowing a divine healing, but at the same time we will detoxify ourselves. You can let the divine healing detoxify you as well. So if that feels good and feels right, allow yourself to communicate with the divine presence and to be one with the divine presence. So you are part of it. You are physical, emotional, mental part of the divine presence. You are the body for the divine, and the divine is the divine for you, and you are one being, spread from the earth up through the divine energies. Feel the sides of your cranium opening out to the sides on the in-breath, closing medially towards the middle on the out-breath. And your brain is not solid, your brain is seaweed, full of cranial sea. It's floating in cranial sea. The brain is 90% water. And the cells are held together by the tentacles of the astrocyte cells. They're the only thing that's keeping it in its shape. Other than that, it would just be water slushing around with the tide. But it's mainly water. It's 90% water, and the cranial sea is 99% water. You've got the cranial sea around all of the cells, providing oxygen, glucose, salt. And out of all of the cells, releasing carbon dioxide and toxins. You can feel the cells breathing. They're breathing in oxygen, they're breathing out carbon dioxide. They may be breathing in toxins and breathing out toxins, but definitely allow them to breathe out toxins so the toxins can flow out of the cells into the cranial sea. And there's all of the venous capillaries receiving that fluid, receiving the toxins, receiving the carbon dioxide and taking it away back to the heart. And they've got these large ventricles that are like big cisterns full of just cranial sea in both hemispheres of the upper part of the brain. And the cranial sea, the used cranial sea with the carbon dioxide can flow into these. The toxins can flow into these. And they flow into the plexus, which is at the base of the ventricles, and all of the venous capillaries in there, massive amount of venous capillaries, just absorb all of that carbon dioxide. Absorb all of the toxins. Absorb the cranial sea, and it's taken away to the heart. And cranial sea can't all be taken away by the venous blood because there's no lymph. It's the lymph which is huge. It's just cranial sea flowing down through the top part of the brain into the central brain complex, into the cerebellum. And it flows forwards into the cranial nerves. So it can leave through the venous blood, can also flow out through the nerves, into the face, into the vagus nerve. And some, with the oxygen and glucose and salt, will flow out through the nerves as nutriments, and some that is the toxins, the carbon dioxide, will flow out through the sides of the nerves into the body, into the lymph, into the venous blood and back to the heart, so you can detox this whole area. And down the spine, it flows down the spine, it's being produced in the spine and it's flowing down the center of the spine in the fifth ventricle, and it's flowing down around the spine, and all of these nerves flowing out from the spine. All of this cranial fluid flows out into the nerves, cranial sea flows out into the nerves, down the arms, round the ribs, into the organs, into the pelvis, into the legs. And the oxygen, glucose and salts gets taken up by the myelinating capillaries and flows off as nutrition. The carbon dioxide, toxins flow out through the sides of the nerves, get taken away by the lymph and the venous blood back to the heart. So all of these carbon dioxide toxins from the brain flow to the heart. They go round the lungs, they lose the carbon dioxide and it gets oxidated. Comes out of the heart, and a quarter of it or more goes to the kidneys. Kidneys takes all of the toxins out, starts making its way down to the bladder and gets passed back to the heart, toxin free. Gets pumped back to the brain. Now, and it becomes the cranial sea. Feel all of the venous blood receiving the carbon dioxide and toxins. You can feel the ventricles receiving it. Feel it flowing out through the nerves. You feel this whole blue circuit. Notice that how that connects you to your kidneys. You feel it flowing out. As you feel it flowing out through your nerves, you can feel it connecting to your kidneys, this blue energy of your kidneys. You can feel your kidneys relating to your lateral ventricles. You can feel your adrenals connecting to your nervous system. You can feel all of this carbon dioxide or toxins and fluid. Now, people think of it as toxic or bad, but it has a beautiful energy. It's just a lovely blue energy. The toxic load is just an energy. It's not bad. When it gets out of us, toxins are beautiful. They all have a use. Well, maybe microplastics don't, but most of them get converted. Before mankind started messing everything up, the toxins all had a use. They were fertilizer. But it's got a beautiful energy, this blue energy water flowing out the kidneys down to the bladder, down through the urethra. And it connects to the vagina and penis for the sexual energies. It's the urethra and soft tissue in the penis, and it's the vagina. And that is the powerhouse, that is the sexual energies. You feel that energy rising through the body. You can feel it relating to this blue energy detoxification. You can feel the sexual energies rising as the energy to heal through the nervous system, through the ventricles, through the kidneys, through the bladder, through the adrenals. Notice how the adrenals connect you to the top of the head and the divine energies. Pulsing adrenals open the crown chakra. You can talk to God, the Creator, the Divine, whatever you want to call it. And breathe. Just relaxing into the kidneys and adrenals, your nervous system, the state of detoxification of the nervous system, of the brain, the healing of the nerves and the venous blood. And breathe. And allowing that spiritual connection. Let the divine anoint you. Let yourself be blessed by the divine. Let it heal your water eliminatory circuit. And breathe. Let your crown chakra release and become one with God and the divine energies, and feel that blue energy through your body. Feel it at the base level connecting to the urethra, the vagina, and the soft tissue of the penis. And breathe, relax your neck. Let that energy go through your neck. Let it go through your spine. Let your kidneys relax and offload those toxins. Notice how relaxing it is being in the blue energies and the venous blood and the kidneys. And this deep empathy with God or the divine or the Creator. Rather than being you, allow yourself to be in communion with the divine as part of you, as part of your biology and reality. Let everything release. Okay, there's a healing. So there's a spiritual detoxification. Notice releasing, being healed and offloading into the higher self, toxic events, releasing into the beyond. God is here, the divine is here, the subtle realms are here to take those toxic events away. And breathe. From everything in you. And breathe. Being aware of the still waters of your body. These are slow. The venous blood is slow. The cranial sea is slower. Becoming aware of the still waters of your body. And breathe. Letting your kidneys relax and release. So we're going to come back in about a minute. Just being with that and slowly settling. Sending a thank you to the earth, the higher self and the beneficial energies. And allowing the energies going off for love and healing to the higher self, the earth, the beneficial energies. For love and healing. Not sure if I did all of that, saying thank you to the earth, the higher self and the beneficial energies, and letting the energies go off to the earth, the higher self, beneficial energies for love and healing, and allowing yourself to be loved and healed. When you feel ready, gently allowing yourself to come back. Lovely, lovely. So wave your hands if you enjoyed that. Good, everyone enjoyed it. If you want to go into that in more depth, come this Sunday, next Sunday. I'll put a link in the newsletter. Watch the recordings. These get deeper every time, especially when I include the organs. They might seem just nice at the time, but they have a profound effect that carries on for much longer. It's really good. I'll be sending out a newsletter to you with the recordings in a couple of days. You know, watch the recordings. It gets deeper every time you do it. Come to the advanced webinars. It's nice to give me some money so that I can continue doing this. You know, I think I do a good job. So it's nice to pay me a bit so that I can carry on doing my job, really. So the advanced webinars are there and recordings. And these free ones and loads on YouTube, and they're all great, they're all powerful, they're all strong. That's about it for today, I think.